All right, so a little bit on the agenda today. We're going to look at an overview of basically what is the ePlan Cloud and what's out there. We're going to then look at the access, getting access to the cloud, the different avenues for getting access. We're going to look at the applications and dashboard and how to navigate your way around and find these different applications and guides and etc. And then we're going to have a look at a bit of user management and how to set up your and run your organizations within the ePlan Cloud. It's an important part for sharing. Following that, we're going to go through some ePlan Cloud guides, which are available. Very useful. There's an ePlan eLearning whole section of self-training there. There's some installation guides, and it's not just from fresh installations, but we'll run through that. There's ePlan engineering standards, and that might not mean exactly what you think it does, but there is a whole lot of useful bits in there. And then we're going to progress on to ePlan Cloud applications, and this is the real advantage of what's out there in ePlan Cloud, specifically the data portal, which I'm sure quite a few of you are familiar with. We're going to look at eStock, eBuild free, and the eBuild system. We're going to have a look at eManage and project version changing and project version rollback, which is a feature we're asked about regularly. We're going to look at eView free and red pen markups and how to do collaboration with that with accounts that don't have an ePlan subscription and how to set that up. And finally, a quick look at Rightail's ePocket system. And then with the end of the session, just 5 minutes of Q&A. All right, to start with is what is the ePlan Cloud? The ePlan Cloud is obviously a cloud collection of guides and applications, which you've already gathered. These are accessible via either a web browser or through your ePlan P8 or Pro Panel application. There's a number of extensions and features for your ePlan, which you can use through the cloud, but there's other elements of it and applications which are independent and can extend what you can achieve with ePlan and with your P8 Pro Panel, with collaboration, with cloud-based part database, etc. So there's really an extension of ePlan into the cloud. And a lot of this comes free with your ePlan subscription. So if you've got an ePlan license and a subscription, you've probably got access to quite a few of these features and not even knowing it yet or not making use of them. So hopefully today we'll shed a bit of light on what you can do with them and what you can incorporate for the future. So the first thing we're going to look at is accessing the ePlan Cloud. So the most basic method is obviously go through the web browser. I usually just use Google and type in ePlan Cloud, and the second option down has login. I'll pass these slides out later. I made available for download, and these have the link in it that you can use to go directly to it, so you can always bookmark that. But this is the first way to get access to go through the cloud to get it. When you get there, you'll be asked for a sign-in or a password. You can, of course, if you don't have a subscription, you can create one from scratch. No problems. You can have an ePlan Cloud login without having ePlan or being able to use ePlan. And there's still features made available to you by ePlan, which are quite helpful. The second way to access the ePlan Cloud is through ePlan, through your P8 or Pro Panel. It has its own menu, ePlan Cloud, and then you can see all the different buttons and features available here. This is what your toolbar will look like, obviously in the dark mode, but when you're inside ePlan. The second stage of once you've logged in is to select your organization. This is mainly through the web browser. And from here, there are three main types of organizations that come with an ePlan login, cloud login. The first one is the ePlan community. Now, I'm mentioning this first because this is available to everybody, and it's a common SharePoint equivalent where everyone in ePlan can freely share documents and bits and pieces, and you'll find bits and pieces from ePlan community are shared with you through this. The second one I want to talk about is company organization. You can see it in little font there. A company organization is your organization that's tied to your ePlan subscription. So if you do have an ePlan license, A lot of the features that are made available for that are available under the company organization only. Thirdly, you can create as many organizations as you want for collaboration. And I've just got a sample one at the bottom there to show the third category, obviously called it Walkatronics. But it's just a selectable third category that you can use to kind of segregate some of your shared documents or shared projects, etc., from the company organization. So it's another method of collaboration. Obviously, within an organization, a company organization, there is the ability to share user management and adjust user management. And if you can see on the left-hand side here, Sagrin is our lead for our company organization, and there's a little crown icon next to his user, and he has main admin control over every user in our company organization. Through that, he can provide other people admin roles, but it allows you to configure all of the ePlan tools or ePlan Cloud tools and how they're extended from your company organization to members of your company organization, other people you've invited. There's also a plus button there. So rather than having someone create a ePlan Cloud login from scratch and then try and associate it with your organization, you can do the reverse and you can invite an email address directly from your company organization, and then they can accept and follow through the web browser prompts to set themselves up correctly. This also allows access control. So I mean, I used this with a demo account I'm using today with the ePlan Cloud, and I've turned off nearly all its features. But I'll show you that in the dashboard later. This is the cloud dashboard. This is one of the most important parts to get familiar with. This is how you navigate your way around the ePlan Cloud. You've got two variations here. One is the web dashboard, and the other one is the application dashboard. One thing that's important to keep in mind is that they are different, and there's different applications that are offered. You can already see on the left-hand side under Ritel, we have the ePocket, RiTherm, and RiPower. And then we have a few more features available. eBuild is actually enabled. eBuild free is enabled in our P8 dashboard. As an extension to that, there is a drop-down menu, which gives you even more applications. So everything that's available or everything you can use within the ePlan Cloud, you'll be able to find it on your drop-down menu. Another thing to be mindful of is even the drop-down menus have different offerings depending if your P8 or Pro Panel application can automatically use some of the features or some of the applications with the ePlan Cloud. So I would highly suggest when you start getting involved with this is have it explore. Pop them both open, have a look at the different applications, and get a feeling for what's offered in both places. And quite often we use them in parallel. We have a web browser backend open with ePlan Cloud, and at the same time using it through our Pro Panel or P8. So before I get to the guides, I'm just going to show you roughly what it looks like. So obviously Google, you'll come here to ePlan login, pop in your email address and password. There is an option to keep it for 30 days, and you'll see a similar pop-up to this when you first use P8 or Pro Panel, and it will pop up every 30 days and ask you to reaffirm your login account. So I'll just use my settings here and log in. And as I said, next step, it's going to ask me to select my organization. As I want to show you the full offering here, we're going to company organization, Eco Design and Automation. Right, and then you come up here. This is your dashboard. You can see I've got various offerings here, the same as the image I had. And to get to the dashboard at any time, there's the 4 squares at the top right here. Or alternatively, the drop-down menu I was talking about is in the far top right with the little arrow. Clicking on that gives you the option to show all, and then you can see all the applications offered, as well as the guides. At the bottom here, you can change your organizations as well and hot swap through those. If I was to go about this through Pro Panel, just pop open my Pro Panel, already got it open, but I would just simply go to ePlan Cloud at the top here in the menu system and go to ePlan Cloud Dashboard. One thing to note is this is one of the only ePlan pop-up windows. that doesn't stop you using bits in the background. So I can still change which project's highlighted and still click on this dashboard window. It is an application within P8 and ProPanel, so I can, if I wanted, choose to dock it or mount it in various areas. But because it doesn't stop the use of ProPanel, doesn't stop the use of the actual application in the background, the ePlan application, you can keep this on a different screen and use it concurrently, which is very beneficial when we get to things like the data portal. You can see the dashboard again here. The dashboard quick jump to option is at the top here. And then again, a drop down with show all and a different set of applications you can choose from. So that's accessing the ePlan Cloud and how to start exploring. Right, the next section we want to look at is some of the free guides that are available via the ePlan Cloud and the usefulness of them. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is eLearning and tutorials. There is a massive repository of training videos. Some of them are guided with questionnaires at the end, available through the ePlan Cloud. There's all sorts of details in there. You can search and refine. And if I was just to show you, there's a number of ways to get through ProPanel or P8 to get to it. If I was to close that window under the ePlan Cloud, we have a direct eLearning link there to jump to it. As an alternative, it's also under File, Help, and eLearning. So they've put it in multiple places so it's easy to find, and you can jump straight to it. I find it easier to use via the web browser. If I can jump to that. So I will go under my drop-down menu here to eLearning. Alrighty. So one thing that is important is every year there's a new update of ePlan, but they also put the update training in here as well. So there'll be a update training 2025 pop-up that you can have a look at, but I'm sure Sagan will explain more of that next month. But under here, there is a search option as well, and you can search for different things you want to learn. I mean, macros are a great way to expand the way you use ePlan. And rather than having to, go for training courses straight away, you can go through the macro bit to start to get a familiarity for it before you do some of the official trainings. PLC tutorials, how to properly organize and lay out your PLCs. There's a great amount on offer in here, and it will track your progress on some of these and have multi-courses offered, which you can work through about 4 or 5 training videos with a progress and questionnaires at the end. So there's a great wealth of knowledge available to you. Just going to jump back to my dashboard. Well, that's doing that. Continue on. Right, so the next section that I'd like to cover is the guided installation. This doesn't just cover initial installation, as I said, but it also allows you to work with upgraded installation, so upgrading versions, as well as if you say change license from a single user license to a concurrent license, or installing a new platform. There's a wealth of information there for self-help and guided use. And it's a really step-by-step system with a very easy user interface. And it's available through both again. So guided installation is here with a button. Clicking on that takes you to the website. Same with the pop-up application window within P8. It will take you to this when you choose it from the drop-down menu. And as well as the ePlan Cloud will pop open this via the web browser. Just on the right here, it's available as installation guides, as well as guided installation right there. So once you land on this page and scroll down, it's already got Platform 2026 ready to go. Once you choose a platform you want to install, there's some other advanced stuff down here for Azure deployment, for cloud-based deployment of ePlan. Very interesting concept, but a bit too much to get into today. But if we just have a look at, say, Platform 2025, It then gives you another breakdown option. So we've got single user licenses on the left, or concurrent licenses or network licenses on the right. And you have the option of having a look at an initial installation and suggestions on how to organize that, or updated installation. So if I was to say choose just the most basic one, initial installation of a single license, it breaks it down into categories and gives you hardware and software requirements. Sometimes this is something good to have a retrospect review of. If you're wondering if you're struggling with ePlan or it's a bit too grunty for your laptop, you can come back and have a review. But if we were to go to one of these links like install software, it's a very easy help interface with more links. And you can see that entire structure is now replicated on the left, and allows you to just jump around from window to window with great screenshots. It's very helpful. So that is the ePlan guided installation section. The last section I wanted to share on the guides is ePlan engineering standard. This isn't exactly what I thought it was originally, but I've experimented with it, had a read around it. It's very useful. I thought it was going to actually be just the engineering standards made available online, but what it is it's a bunch of templates and standards that you can download to use to see how to incorporate standards into your current ePlan drawings. There's templates and reports and all sorts that you can utilize, which is a very powerful tool. Again, very easy to find within ProPanel. Just ePlan engineering standard button at the top there, or through the dashboard, and through the web. Close that down. It's just on the left here, under the drop down, ePlan engineering standards. I'm going to pop that open and have a look. So there's ePlan professional services, which is a link to some of the other services provided by ePlan. The ePlan data standard, which is something we'll talk about in a second when we look at the data portal. And then the ePlan data portal here is a bit different in terms of, oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. It's down the bottom here. Standardization templates, application samples, industry standard projects, very powerful, and best practices. So I'm going to click on Discover Our Downloads. And again, I mean, it's got a whole bunch of different categories you can search under: standardization templates, best practices, industry standard projects. You can download these, save them locally, and then utilize them or open them up in ePlan. Have a look and borrow bits from them, use them. They're made freely available. This can be a really good aid in onboarding ePlan if you're starting fresh and trying to stick to a specific standard. If you change standards, I mean, if you're typically an IEC and you have to do an FPA project, suddenly you need a new basis, come in here, grab a template, download it, cross over. It gets you jump started in a lot of ways and saves a lot of time. So I'm not going to go through everything and start popping these open, but something to investigate and have a look at. Alrighty, so now to the real features, the really nice stuff that's in ePlan Cloud that makes life a lot easier. I'm going to start with the one we use every day. We must use it hundreds of times a day within our organization. I don't think there's a single project we use without having to open it and have a look and see what's happened to parts or get new parts. It's the data portal. What the data portal is it's effectively a bank of part data or a cloud-based data portal that you can pull parts from. There's over 2.1 million parts available currently. It's growing very fast monthly, and there's over 450 suppliers or manufacturers of these parts, which are actually pushing them to the data portal, and they have to meet the ePlan data standard to be able to push this data to the cloud. So having a quick look here of what you would see in the data portal. I mean, we have a Siemens drive here on the left. It's got a picture of the device. It's got macros and variants, and I'll show you this in a minute live. There's also filters, so you can break down the search. Obviously, 2.1 million parts is a lot to take in, but you can classify them in terms of the different parts categories for ePlan, data types in terms of what offerings are made available by each part, as well as manufacturers, just to narrow it down. And in the bottom here, we can see available data types, and this is effectively what the ePlan data standards are. So meeting data standards to actually be able to publish your parts and meet these criteria. So let me just jump in here and show you where we find this. Under the Eplan Cloud, I'm going to jump into the data portal. And of course, with a number of parts, this does take a little bit to boot up. And there are some other amazing features available through the data portal that a lot of people aren't quite familiar with. And I'll show you what that is in just a second. So I'm not using P8 in the background, I'm using ProPanel. I use it for most of my work. But within the data portal here, obviously the first parts that pop up are Ritel, which is beautiful. On the right-hand side here, I've got a drop-down. So besides just viewing a part, there are other configurators. Whoops, I don't want to download the part. Cancel for now. Under these parts, some parts come with additional options. So I'm not sure if many people have used the Ritel enclosure configurator online, but you can get access to the Ritel configurator through the data portal for any of your enclosures. Once you complete, I'm not going to boot it up and run through because it's a bit of a slow and data chewing process, but you can configure your enclosures entirely with cutouts, with panels and accessories, and they will import directly into ProPanel from the data portal Eplan Cloud pop-up. Very useful background connection. Saves a lot of time with placing sides or something on a bayed enclosure. So obviously you can filter on the left-hand side. So you find your filters. I'm just gonna throw in a simple filter. Oh, let's go for Siemens. Why not? Why? And you've got to give it a sec to kind of narrow down these parts, and you'll see it appear with its filter classification here. So Siemens, and let's go for something like a 8A P2. It's just a part I looked up earlier, which I'm familiar with. And it searches and finds, various drives and bits. And this is the drive we want to look at. No problem. So pop it open. And clicking on it gives you the more details. So you can see the drive. It's got, this is the 3D image, 3D graphic of the drive that's produced and uploaded by the manufacturers, by Siemens directly. You can see photos of the drive, which are included, as well as the schematic macros for it, and various variants of that. So if you don't want all the terminals, etc., there's other options. Most of this comes under data type. If I was to pop this open and show the offerings, we have 8 categories. Not the easiest things to understand, but I'll explain them quickly. Under commercial data is almost your metadata for your part. So that carries a lot of the thermal data as well as, say, the weight of the drive, etc. There's the logical macro, which you can see in the background here. This is what's placed into your schematic directly and usable with terminals. There's the functional template, which is a bit more detailed. What that is, it's under the part definition. There's a function and defines each one of these pins, sometimes defines the potential for each of these pins and what these pins are called. And it has the correct naming convention that will match what's on the physical drive. So if the functional template's complete, you use it in your project. When your project's finally made it to site or to assembly or production, they'll know the terminals are going to match up perfectly, which is great. There's the DXF and 2D graphic data. The DXF is obviously the complete front view in full detail, which is beautiful, but not really great for panel layout, 2D panel layouts, where the 2D graphic data is important. So it's a slightly more simplified visualization of the drive that you can place in your 2D panel layouts. The other 3 elements here belong to ProPanel mainly. There is the 3D graphical data, which is what I've shown you with the STP file that's been uploaded and the 3D macro made available. The connection point pattern, which is actually the connection point in 3D space that the wires terminated to, as well as the vector of which way the wire is coming to that termination point. This is used for wire routing, and wire routing, I think, is going to be made a lot more available with the upcoming Pro panels and the new releases. But again, I believe Sagrin will have more information on that next month with our next webinar. And drilling pattern. This is great because this is done by the manufacturer. You know it's going to work. You can use a part out of the data portal if it's got this data. Drop it straight onto your panel. When it goes to something like the Perforex for automatic production of your mounting panel. The drilling points will be in the correct place, tapped or drilled, and you can mount devices up straight away with confidence without having to double check your drilling patterns or make them yourself. So it's good knowing what's on offer under these parts in the data portal. Again, you can just download these straight into your parts database with an ePlan. We won't cover the parts databases today, but as an addition, you can create a parts request. So if there's a manufacturer that you want a specific part for and it's not available, you can actually request from a manufacturer. It costs nothing. There used to be a token system that's now gone. So you can request from a manufacturer, put in the part numbers or the series you want, and that will go through, and your request they won't always be immediately actioned. It may take a couple of months sometimes, or sometimes they will say this isn't valid for us to put in there, but they do actually generate responses, and the manufacturers will get back to you via this interface. So very powerful that way. One thing to keep in mind, which is a bit of leverage on the data portal, is that if you don't have a part, if you can't find it under the parts lists, if you can find an equivalent part, either by the same manufacturer or an alternative manufacturer, downloading a complete part and then working through that part, making a copy of it and editing the data allows you to quickly create parts that are mostly filled in with the correct data. So that way you can use what's already out there to extend the libraries or produce the parts you need quickly, rather than creating a part completely from scratch. All right, so that's the data portal offering. What we're going to look at next is eStock. eStock is underutilized. It's an amazing, strong method of storing a cloud's parts database. Some of the areas where this is really useful is when you have a company that's spread across multiple cities, and you all want to be using the same parts database. Setting up VPNs or remote servers or remote SQLs could be a hassle for you. It might be hassle in terms of your network permissions or your security required by your company. eStock is something you get free permission to use with your ePlan license, and it's something you can experiment with straight away and get familiar with. So what it is, let me jump into ProPanel here. What it is it's a part database. So if I open my parts database here under user settings, obviously user management parts, here I can choose my parts source. I use an SQL database running locally. There is an option to choose an eStock collection. And what this will do is it'll allow you to use the eStock parts directly in your project as if you're using any other of the parts database formats. The way you configure or use the eStock parts, you need to upload to them, but before you do that, let's have a quick look at it. So this I'm going to do mostly through ProPanel or P8. It works for both. It's also available here, shortcut. eStock. So this can be a little bit intimidating when you first start with it, but once you get familiar with it, it's quite easy to use. So at the top here, we have parts. This has all the parts I've pushed to our organization's eStock or other people have pushed. After parts, you have collections. And collections, if you remember, that's what we were looking at under settings. The collection is what you use as a parts database. This allows you to almost siloize collections of parts for different departments if your company is that size. Or we have an eco-design test collection here with 169 parts that Sagman's created. And this has most, if not all, of these parts in it. So what I can do is I can open it up and then view the parts that exist under this. Under a part in a collection, you have all the normal parts data, but you also have parts revisions. So your collection has control in terms of saying what is produced, when it's produced, or when it's updated, sorry. The parts are actually uploaded or versions are changed of your parts in your parts database, in your collection. When a part is put into parts or into a collection, there is the option to validate it or push it or release parts, sorry. So click on a part, I can then choose to release the part, and that will push it into the collection. To get parts into your parts database, into this list, you need an existing ePlan parts database. As I said, I'm using an SQL. Oops, I'm in the wrong place here. Master data management. I have a whole bunch of parts in here. Where are we? Let's go for protection devices, circuit breaker, Siemens, nice and easy. Choose a part, obviously populated part, downloaded from the data portal. What I can do is right click on that part and then upload to eStock. It's not going to do it immediately, but it's going to give me this option. So what I can do is I can make it auto release this part, so it's ready to be used by that collection straight away. I can put it into raw parts where it's not associated with collection, so I can control what collection it's associated with through the Eplan Cloud, or I can push it directly to an existing collection and have it released, ready to be used straight away from an existing ePlan parts database. So that's the process to actually get it into your eStock, how to associate it with collections in eStock, and then how to change your ePlan settings to use eStock to place it. One thing I will mention is that when you boot ePlan up or close ePlan down, it has a habit of synchronizing sometimes with your eStock parts database. And it can be a little bit of a lag, but it does provide that amazingly strong ePlan Cloud connectivity and functionality. So that's eStock. What we're going to have a look at now is eBuild. eBuild is, again, it's an underutilized tool. It's quite powerful. It allows you to automatically generate schematics. What it is, it's an automatic kind of value set selector with a group of macro placements across either multi-pages, page macros, or macros. And it comes in two main categories. There's eBuild, which eBuild free, sorry, which is the free version, which a lot of people already have on their ePlan Cloud access. There's also eBuild paid, which comes in two kind of categories. There's an ability to create configurators, which I'll show you shortly. There's also a special application called an engineering configurator, which is a bit more advanced for the very, very technical configurations. And you can use it with program code to actually create different applications almost under the eBuild configurator option. But we'll go through that in a minute. So the basic process with eBuild free is you would access it through the eCloud application window within P8 or ProPanel, which you can see on the left-hand side here. You would select a library in terms of these are libraries offered existingly. So if your company has a paid eBuild, it can produce its own libraries. If it doesn't, you're using one that already exists or one that's offered either by manufacturers or by ePlan directly. You'll then go through the process of working through the wizard on the left. So you would select your project, then you'd select the configurator. There's sometimes a bunch of configurators that belong to a single library. And finally, you would configure and generate into your project. So let me just jump in here and show you how all this is going to work. So what I have here is I have a project I've created for today. I'm viewing it in my page viewer, my page navigator, in my paper space, and it has no pages. There's nothing in this project. It's completely blank. So I'm going to go to ePlan Cloud and go to eBuild free. I'm not going to run through the creation of the configurators today. That's a very advanced topic. But I believe with the P8 professional package that's coming out, again, Sagrin will have details on this next webinar, but I think you might get access to the paid version of eBuild, which is a powerful tool given out free. So definitely something to jump into if that's what happens. Right, so we've got the process here, selecting a library. There's manufacturers libraries or general libraries offered by ePlan. I'm just going to jump into general libraries. I'm going to choose one that I know works and produces a nice schematic, although it's extremely simple. There is a more advanced one here called ePlan ESS, sample macros. this is the one I would suggest you have a look at yourself. If you get time and really want to have a look at more of the advanced settings, I will just show you this, a hint of it. Comes with a description, but I'm not going to generate from this one because it's quite detailed. Obviously, the projects I have open on the left, you choose your project, and then you get to your configurators. So here, under the one I selected, I can create a whole project with one button. These are just demos, but it incrementally shows you increasing difficulty. And there's a great amount of configurators to explore under this ESS sample macros. As we don't need to go into complete technical details today, I'm going to go for something nice and simple. So I'm going to go cable drawing US ePlan. And I'm going to go to the same project because it's a blank project with no pages. For the configurator, there's only one Ethernet cable. And then finally, when you get to the last page, which I didn't show you for those other configurators, you get all the input boxes you've got to fill in to be able to get this to generate. Often you'll find the generate button is grayed out, and that's because some of these boxes have these little red asterisks saying this is required to be filled in to generate. So you can choose your fields. When you generate a configurator or create a configurator with eBuild paid, you will create these edit boxes. Some of the very advanced ones, when you choose something and it gives an expanded section, is created in that advanced engineering configurator, which I can show you. So under here, it's already ready to generate, but I've effectively got a page number, page description, cable DT. These are just values I filled in earlier today, type of cable, etc. I'm going to leave it basically as it is because the main bit is I'm going to show you the generation. Clicking on that, we're away. The project documentation was generated, no problem. Close that, and now under here, it's put in only a one page, but that's what this configurator is designed to do. And you can see a very basic macro with placeholders, etc., have been placed on the page and it's generated. So through a correct configurator setup, you can generate an entire project, which is there's advanced projects I'd suggest you look at. The advanced configurators offered by ePlan already, and you can produce quite a bit of your projects or even customize it with that eBuild paid. So as I was saying, the eBuild, paid, comes with there's an engineering configurator that's available to download. It's a different application. And you can see a snippet of it down the bottom here. And this is complex to use and only for very advanced users that have a good amount of programming knowledge. And you create pretty much like a rapid application development where you choose tick boxes, drop downs, fill-ins, edit boxes, and then you link that data back to your placeholders and your macros and how to use them and build them. There is an in-between step, which is the basic eBuild paid configurator, but we'll cover that at a later date and how to create configurations. So the next thing I want to cover is eManage. eManage is completely different to eBuild. eManage is an online project repository, and you get access to it when you have an ePlan subscription. Again, this is amazingly useful when you have a company spread across a number of cities or a number of countries. What it allows you to do is within your organization, if you provide shared access in terms of user settings and sharing a project, you can share the project virtually through a cloud. It's a OneDrive or a Google Drive that belongs to ePlan that has storage space that you can freely use. Here you can see, as I said, this web window that pops up, the ePlan Cloud browser. Within ePlan doesn't commandeer the mouse, so it still lets you use ePlan in the background. So it allows me to select one of my projects. This is the project we were just looking at. I can then click on eManage to pop up the browser, or if it's already open, and I can choose to upload that project directly into eManage. One of the most powerful abilities of eManage is you can roll back projects. So sometimes we'll get a project, we'll be working on it in P8 2025, and our customer only has P8 2024. or another person in our organization, and we want to roll back that project, we can go through the web window, the web browser to ePlan Cloud, and we can then choose our project, Pro Panel webinar project, something I did a while ago for another webinar. Click on the three dots, and then you can choose either to download 2025 project because it already has this 2025 project generated in its repository, or I can choose to generate a project for a previous version. And then once it's generated, it'll pop up with little pop-up windows and progress bars. It'll then change this text to say download 2024 project and allow you to pull it down. It's a ZW1 zipped file, and then you can open it in 2024. Alternatively, in P8 or Pro Panel, I have the eManage window open. Because I'm in 2025, it lets me open a 2024 project or generate previous projects. If I was in 2023 ePlan P8 installed, it would only give me that 2023 option, but it would allow me to open it directly from my ePlan Cloud browser through eManage directly. So that's another avenue you can take to pull it down. So let's have a look at how this functions. So jumping in here, eManage is here. You can go through your dashboard, click that, and you're away. It opens up. Come on, eManage. Okay, so here we've got a bunch of demo projects and test projects, training projects we've uploaded. It has internal or external projects I've been given access to. I can select a project, or on the right-hand side, it gives me them with the drop-down options. I can share these. So by clicking on share, I can either choose someone from my organization or share through eManage with external users. Clicking on one of these projects, it'll actually show me details on it on the right. Clicking on internal again comes up to the top. So 3 drop-down buttons, I can then choose to open the project. You can see this has actually been generated. There is a 2024 and a 2023 project that has been generated. So now they're both in the repository for this. And I can choose to generate previous versions if I want. So this allows you to store in the cloud, someone else to pull it down, edit it, change it. It's a very powerful tool. Show details, more details on it. Window's a bit small here, sorry, but shared with, so this is obviously one of our employees here has it, and you can choose to share it with other people and view who it's shared with. Complete details. So that is eManage. One thing I'll show you while I have this open, because it leads directly to the next section. If I click on internal and reduce the details, you can publish from eManage. You're required to publish from eManage to eView or eView free to use eView. That's the next bit we're going to be looking at. So what I'll do, because this takes a little bit of time, is our demo panel we have here at the office for our training room. I'll just find it here, uploaded by me, and I'm going to publish to eView. And that should give a little progress bar and yeah, down the bottom here doing its thing. So I'll leave that running for a second. All right, and let's look at eView free. So you publish to eView free through eManage. And eView free is effectively similar to a PDF viewer for your projects. It allows you to view through the pages online. You can get access through a web browser on your phone to a schematic or to one of your eView projects. If you want to check something on site, you can provide site access for individuals to use eView free. You can share it with a non-ePlan subscription account. So if you have a bunch of electricians on site, they will create themselves a free eView cloud account. You can share it with them and they can use their tablets on site to get access directly to those PDFs. It has some very powerful advanced options, which is red penning and feedback from both engineers on site as well as from obviously engineers at other desks or people reviewing the drawings in the process. And obviously, if you share it differently to eManage, you can share it through eManage, which shares the project files, but you can share it through eView, which is mainly for viewing and not for downloading the project files for editing. So it keeps that restriction there, as well as gating it behind organization and who you've shared it with. So there's a lot of controls in there for IP on projects. Under eView free, one of the most amazing features is ability to do red pen markups. It contains markup notifications on projects. It allows for external collaboration and it allows for cloud-based workflows in terms of you can see on the left, I'll show you it live in the application shortly, but you can have a draft, review, approved, done or rejected for each of your red line markups. There's also green lining, which works exactly the same. So let's jump into this and have a look. Back into here. That's published now, so I'm going to dashboard. eView free is available at the top here as well as a quick jump button. ePlan, eView free. Alrighty. So we can see the project here, published today, a few minutes ago. So this is available, and down the bottom here, it allows me to share the project. What I'm going to do quickly, so you guys can see both sides of this, is I have a Microsoft Edge window open, and this is the dummy account I created. It's just my personal email address, which doesn't have an ePlan subscription assigned to it. But I have invited this user to the organization, to our organization, and controlled its permissions, drastically wound them back. So this is kind of a similar setup you'd do for, say, your on-site engineers. Choosing my company organization, Eco Design and Automation. It's a organization I've been invited to, but I've turned back the controls, and you'll see it in here. So through the user management for this additional user, I've turned everything off except for eView free and ePocket. So looking at a non-subscription account, you can see most things are turned off. I've got eView free, ePocket, and the guides available, and that's it. So I'm going to go to eView free. And the project's not shared, which isn't a problem. So I'm going to go to my other login and find it there. I'm going to go back to back to dashboard. This is in Chrome, so this is my official login. Obviously with all the features. So I'm going to go to eView free. And I'm going to see the projects here, right? This is the project I want to share. Click on that. And down the bottom here, I'm just going to show you sharing. And I've got that alternative account here. You can also, when you choose to share, you can set a date range. So you can share it for a month, 2 months to control after that time, how long it's shared. So I'm going to say limited edit, no problem. I'm not going to choose a date range. I'm going to click apply. And now you can see it's added my free account down here. I know this might be a bit confusing, sorry, but I'm going to switch back to my other account. Find that one there. And now I can see it. So I'm going to open it. Remembering this is all happening not through ePlan or P8 or ProPanel. This is actually the ePlan Cloud application running. And now I've had this project shared with my free account. I can sit there and browse through the project and have a look at all the schematics, etc. So running through the red penning, what I can do is I can say find something I want to make a note on. Was a good example before. I can just find it, like CBU. And I can go to red pinning. Okay, nothing in there yet. I'm going to click. This is a little bit of a interesting process. I had a lot of trouble figuring this out, but once you've got it, it's very easy. I'm going to click on red pen and then click on the method of drawing I want. So I'm going to say grab a square and draw a red pen square, and it's created a red penning. I can then put some text on it and say check. And it has the two elements that I've placed under this red penning, and it's put who put it, like me as the creator, and the date that I've put it. And it still gives me the option to delete it at this stage. And it has a history, so I've created it. One beautiful feature here is this button here. So if I'm on site, I can click on photo, place a photo. I can actually place a photo of a drive, valve, device directly into the red penning. I won't at this stage, but it's there, right? So once I've done all my drafts of red penning, what I can do is I can drag it into review and say, please check, save. It's now under review. So if I was to, please bear with me, jump back to my official account and just refresh. It's now come up with this little bubble here with a 1. If I mouse over that, it tells me how many unread redlinings I've got for this eView free project. So I can click on that, open it up, go to redlining, and for review, it's saying I've got 1 to review here. So it's actually keeping track of who's doing the redlining when and passing it back and forward. It's going to be a little bit confusing because they're both under my name. So I can see who's created it, the history. And then I can say, okay, it's got these elements, check. I can see it there and go, okay, I've checked it. It's fine. I'm going to put it under done and say, yeah, or okay, save. And this will pass back. And then hopping back into my other account, I can see it's moved. It's told me I've got 1 that is not read, and click on it, and I can see comments are here. Set to done, this time, timestamps, all okay. So you can see the power of this tool passing back and forward. It generates emails as well to the email account for the red penning when they're passed, so that you can keep track. It will give you notification in your email box when someone's made red pen changes to your project, so you know that they're there to be attended to or checked. It's a very powerful tool. So that's the eView and marking up. One last thing I'm going to cover is the ePocket. I'm not going to go through the Rytherm and RyPower, but very powerful tools, great with ProPanel. RyPower now has all of the Ryline X power distribution bus stuff. You can configure it, drop part numbers in there, produce bill of materials, and etc. I am not sure if it works directly with ProPanel yet, but I think it will soon. And Rytherm, definitely, you can take the data from ProPanel, put it into Rytherm, and generate your thermal reports for your enclosures, and then take those PDFs for your enclosure, your different enclosures, and put them back into ePlan so that you have all the PDF and technical data carrying with your project. It's a beautiful closed circle there. So going into ePocket, ePocket allows you to generate or use a QR code associated with your panel so that you can scan it and get access to the PDF directly, or other documents. It's a document repository that you can use associated with a panel QR code. So what we have here is it's just a quick photo. We've printed one out for our panel, our demo panel. The QR code's generated if you have an older TS type Rotel enclosure. But if you have a VX or an AX enclosure, some of the new ones, they come with a QR code ready to be used directly with ePocket. If I was to jump in very quickly, let's go through here. Can I get directly to it? Show all ePocket. This may seem a little confusing because I'm both the publisher and the creator of the PDF and this ePocket selection, this panel. But what I can do is if I open this, say, in my tablet, I can then click on scan QR code. Using the camera on the tablet, I can scan the QR code and it will pop open this demo project. Or if I had 50 projects here that I've been given access to, it'll jump directly to the demo project. We've only uploaded one. And it would give me this, which now means I can then click on that demo panel for training room PDF and allow me to view it directly from that QR code as a PDF. So I know what's in that cabinet, what those schematics are, even as much as this PDF holds I'm not sure if we have a 2D panel layout in here. Yeah, we do. So you can look at it. It's actually a model view of the 3D, but you can look at it and know what's in that panel, roughly where the drives are, what drives, etc. So a very powerful tool that automatically links back to those Rotel panels.